This is Disha Bakchi for NDTV, and I'm here at the Abu Dhabi Finance Week in Abu Dhabi, UAE. This is the third edition of the Abu Dhabi Finance Week, and there are over 18,000 people here from across the globe, including 300 key finance and business leaders to discuss everything from how AI is transforming the world of finance and global economies, as well as the crucial role and growing significance of emerging markets such as India, as well as markets in ASEAN and Latin America, and as well as the need for more women-led businesses in the world. Now, it's a jam-packed day one with, as I mentioned, numerous panels, and NDTV will bring you exclusive access to the Abu Dhabi Finance Week, as well as key conversations on everything from the crucial importance of India in the global economy, as well as conversations with the Eurasian Development Bank and a lot more. Stay tuned. So this is Disha Bakchi for NDTV, and I'm here at the Abu Dhabi Finance Week 2024 at Abu Dhabi, where global finance leaders from various countries have come together to talk about everything related to finance, whether it comes to how AI is transforming transforming investment strategies to a lot more, and to talk about the importance of emerging economies within this avenue. I have with me Jeroen Westrick, who's the Middle East Director of Argentum Creek Partners Middle East, which is a firm that's looking at emerging markets and investment strategies surrounding emerging markets. So thank you so much for speaking to NDTV, Mr. Westrick.
My pleasure.
My first question to you is that, how do you see the role of emerging markets evolving, especially markets such as India and Asian economies, which are often even called tiger economies? So how do you see their role evolving in the global economic landscape? And what do you think are some of the factors that is contributing to their transformation?
Well, of course, in my position, I'm always saying they're getting more important, given that we are an emerging markets investor. But in the end, it's very simple economics when you look at the growth rates on a lot of the emerging markets economy and you compare those to developing markets, and particularly, of course, to Europe, that the importance of the emerging markets is increasing. If you look at just, of course, the example in China, the way they've gone from a relatively small economy to the second largest economy in the world in 25 years. And we expect that from a number of other countries as well, as they're now growing at sort of 5 to 10% GDP growth per annum. So by definition, they're going to become more important with never bet against the US economy that will continue to grow, but look at Europe that's growing between 0 and 1%. If things are going well. So
in comparison, the Indian economy has been growing quite fast and quite steadily, you would say, right?
Yeah. Yes, indeed, for the last few years, absolutely.
And what do you think are some of the factors that could be contributing to the transformation of these emerging markets, and really pushing that growth?
Yeah, I think, look, what's contributing in the end to consistent GDP growth is clear government policies and willingness to achieve them. And I think also if you look at I'm not a specialist on the Indian economy, but it has developed certain sectors really well. And I think that's what you see in a number of emerging markets where they develop the sectors well that they're good at. As you see here in the region, where of course the energy sector is key, and that contributes for an important part to the GDP growth. And I think then the secret going forward is, of course, to diversify the economies and effectively increase the middle class as a higher percentage of your population.
Right. Now, when it comes to the Middle East, over the past couple of years, especially over the past year, various geopolitical developments have really shaken up the region in a sense. Now, while of course, you're not an expert looking at political developments. They do have a certain economic impact as well on, your firm, for example, and other emerging markets as well. So, how do you think these developments in the Middle East could perhaps give emerging markets a scope to be, say, a potential alternative?
Yeah. Look, what we are seeing here, from if you look at it purely from an economical perspective, is that even though sometimes in countries the political situation is difficult, but people are very focused on economic growth. And so to give one example, this year we invested in a company in Egypt. Now, that is a country that has gone through difficult times, also from an economic perspective. But there you see also sort of the impact of the UAE and Saudi together with IMF sort of improving the economics of this country and of helping to improve the economics of this country and making it more investable. So from our perspective, we really look at sort of bottom up, okay, the companies we're looking at, are there growth opportunities, and does that make them as interesting investments? And we do see that the integration of sort of various countries helping really a lot.
Right. So when it comes to these, macroeconomic developments across the world, how do you see it impact investment strategies, especially in emerging markets?
Yeah, I think, look, what you're seeing now and what we are also hearing from investors is that indeed, where, of course, a lot of the investors are still very much focused on the US, and that's always going to continue to be a big part of their allocation. But there seems to be a lot more attention from big investors to look at, sort of our investors to look at emerging markets. People are seeing that more. And people are also seeing sort of the relevance of what they want to achieve in developed markets, such as energy transition. You're going to need a feedstock from emerging markets and commodities that sort of the developed markets don't have. And so from that perspective, we see that relevance really increasing, and that's going to continue that's going to continue going forward.
Right. My last question is that, we've been discussing a lot about emerging economies, but I think the conversation would be incomplete if we don't talk about the US a little bit. So, we're going to see that former President Donald Trump, or President-elect Donald Trump, in fact, is returning to office next month in the US. So how is our Middle Eastern firms, such as yours, kind of looking at their investment strategies based on him coming back to office?
Yeah, look, from our perspective, just to be clear, by origin, we are a US firm. So, I think, will it impact our investment strategy? I don't think it necessarily does. There's been a lot of talks about tariffs, and a lot of people who know what the impact is going to be. We're not in that camp. I think I've always been taught that nothing is for sure. So I think we'll have to, from our perspective, we always like to be nimble, flexible, and sort of see where we can go. The world is a big place, so there's going to be enough opportunities to invest in. And in general, sort of, we invest in complex situations. So potentially, indeed, if some of these big tariffs come in, there's going to be dislocation in certain areas, and that provides opportunities for us. So, so either way, we'll be ready to invest in that. But I think, from our perspective, we'll really have to see what will happen once the new government is in office, and then we'll take it from there.
Right. Well, Mr. Westrick, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV. So this is Disha Bagchi signing off from the Abu Dhabi Finance Week 2024.